The cameras were already rolling when Greg Gutfeld leaned back in his chair, a half-smile playing at the corner of his lips. The air inside the studio was thick, not just with light and sound, but with tension. Everyone in the control room could feel it. Hillary Clinton sat opposite him, calm and perfectly composed as always. She had faced every kind of interview, every accusation, every storm. But tonight was different. Tonight, something dangerous was in the air. Greg adjusted his mic and looked directly at her. "Madam Secretary," he began, his tone sharp but steady, "there's something the American people have been asking for years, and I think tonight, they deserve an answer." The audience quieted. Hillary smiled faintly. "I've heard that line before, Greg," she replied smoothly. "And I'm sure you'll make it sound dramatic enough for ratings." Greg chuckled softly, but his eyes didn't waver. "Maybe," he said, "but this isn't about ratings anymore. It's about truth." He reached under the table and placed a thick brown envelope in front of him. The cameras zoomed in. Hillary's eyes followed it, and for the first time, a small flicker of unease passed across her face. Greg opened the envelope slowly. "These," he said, lifting several printed documents, "are files connected to the 2014 Foundation investigation, files that, until now, no one has ever seen on live television." The crowd gasped. The producers in the control room shouted through their headsets, "Cut to break. Cut the feed." But Greg ignored them. He began reading. Details. Transactions. Memos with initials. Names. Numbers. Hillary's posture stiffened. Her hands clasped together tightly. "Greg, you're crossing a line," she said, her voice still steady but lower, heavier. "Those files were never meant to be." He cut her off. "We're never meant to see daylight." "Why not? If they're clean, what's the problem?" Her jaw tightened. "Because," she said, her tone rising, "you don't understand what it's like to live every day hunted by lies, surrounded by people who want to destroy you for headlines." The audience murmured. The tension snapped. Greg leaned forward. "Then tell us what's true, Hillary. Right here, right now. No scripts, no spin, just truth." For a long moment, she said nothing. The silence was deafening. Her face softened, the practiced mask of composure beginning to fade. "You think you know what power feels like, Greg," she said quietly. "You don't. Power doesn't protect you, it isolates you. You lose friends, you lose trust, and somewhere along the way, you start losing yourself." Greg paused, unsure what to say next. He had expected anger, denial, deflection, not this raw crack in her armor. But before he could respond, she continued, voice trembling slightly. "I have done things to protect this country, things that people like you will never understand. And if those choices haunt me, then maybe I deserve it." The room went still. Even the audience forgot to breathe. For a brief, shattering moment, Hillary Clinton wasn't a politician, she was a person. But Greg, holding the papers in his hand, looked down at them and then back at her. "Then let's not hide behind history anymore," he said softly. "The truth may hurt, but it also heals. Don't you think it's time?" Something shifted in her eyes. A long, silent stare, and then, she leaned back and whispered, "You want the truth? Then you better be ready for the weight of it." That moment went viral. Within minutes, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube exploded. #ClintonSecretsLive was the #1 trend in the world. Clips of the interview flooded every feed. Some called Greg a hero. Others said he ambushed her unfairly. But one thing was certain, everyone was watching. By morning, headlines were everywhere. Clinton cornered. Gutfeld drops bombshell on live TV, the truth behind the interview that shook America. Greg received both praise and death threats. But he didn't regret it. Because beneath all the noise, something unexpected happened. Hillary's team released a statement. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't scripted. It was personal. "I've lived in the public eye my entire life," it read. "I've faced judgment, hate, and fear. But after last night, I realized the truth doesn't destroy you, silence does." The world stopped again. That line, "Silence does," became a quote millions repeated. Days later, Hillary appeared again on camera. Not for an interview, not for politics, but to speak directly to the people. "We all make mistakes," she said. "Some are public, some private. But maybe what matters most is that we have the courage to face them before they consume us." Her voice broke slightly. For the first time in years, she said, "I feel free." Greg watched that speech from his studio. He didn't smile, didn't celebrate. He simply whispered to himself, "Truth wins." The following week, talk shows debated endlessly. Was Greg brave or cruel? Was Hillary finally honest or just strategic? But those questions didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that, for once, the truth, no matter how painful, wasn't buried under politics. It was out there, raw and real. Months later, Greg wrote in his memoir, "It wasn't about exposing someone. It was about exposing something, the fear of truth that controls us all." And Hillary, quieter now, living away from cameras, said in an interview years later, "That night broke me. But maybe it also saved me. Because sometimes the truth doesn't set you free, it forces you to rebuild from nothing." The story didn't end with a scandal. It ended with a lesson. A reminder that even in a world built on secrets and spin, truth, no matter how dark, will always find its way to the light. And when that light shines, it doesn't just reveal who we are, it shows who we still have the power to become. So if you're watching this, remember, truth is never the enemy. It's the only thing that can set your story free. If you believe that too, hit that like button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe, because sometimes, one moment of honesty can change everything. And this was one of those moments.